Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games. Today we're going to take a look at a game called Long Shot, the Dice Game. This is a game, a quasi-successor to Long Shot, the board game, which came out around 10 years ago, both with a theme of horse racing. The interesting part of these games and what separates them from, say, some of the older school ones is that you aren't necessarily bidding on a particular horse that you have a vested interest in, but rather you are diversifying your bidding and you horses you may own, horses you may not own, winning based on where they place, among a variety of things, as well as earning victory points through a different ways. It's an amalgamation of many things, all themed around a day at the track. So let's take a look. All right, let's take a look at what comes in Long Shot. Long shot, baby, long shot. I'll bet you won't get that out of your mind. Well, you get a box. Not only do you get a box, you get a nice clacky box. See that? Look at that. Isn't that cool? Clock clack. Clackety clack. All right. In the box, you get the racetrack, which is petite, particularly compared to its big brother Long Shot, the actual board game from years ago. You get 8 tiny reindeer, horses, each one with its own special breed of silliness. Each horse has its own card, and this is the basic suggested first set of cards. These show each horse, they show various features about them, which we'll go into later. And then each player gets a placard, which is, oh, not ready to start there yet, which is going to give you a bunch of information, which looks a lot, very much like a slot machine or like a lotto ticket. Actually, cool. That's a lot of tickets. All right, and then it'll all make sense really. And then you get each one gets a player card. You have that. You also have these starter cards, which give each person a unique custom arrangement to start with to sort of steer you towards a not predetermined but predisposed conclusion. You also get extras. These are extra horse cards, so you've got 3 different configurations. You can mix and match them, but in general, you can not mix and match them as well, plus a little expansion set. You get, of course, because you're going to be drawing on these plastic placards or these laminated placards, you get an eraser, and you also get a pen to write stuff. Whee! Whee! Fun. Tons of fun. A rule book with the pertinent information and a solo mode. You get this guy. This is the enemy that you will be taking on if you're going to play solo. It's a sort of a matrix of decisions that you'll take as that player, or Roland, I believe. There you go. That's it. That's all that comes in the box, although it does pack a punch given the small size of the box. Let's get into an example of play. All right, we're ready to roll, but first, when each player starts, they get a special card. A Golden Fields card. Looks like you got the golden ticket. Right, so what you do is you take that and you replicate the information onto your player board as the starting configuration for you. Look at that. Isn't that cool? 2 goes 2, 4 goes 4. What this means is that I've already got bets placed on horses 2 and 7. That might be how I want to steer it, but maybe not. This is done. This is over. It's a one and done, baby. All right, so 5, 2, 8, 7, and 3 on the 4, and 3 on the 6. Look at that. I like it already. Magical, just magical. All right, 4, 3, 1. And we have a 3 on the 2 and a 3 on the 7. We're ready to roll. Literally, we are ready to roll. And here are the dice. Forgot to tell you that. There's 2 dice. They have special significance. So we are ready. Everyone's at the starting gate. Ready, set, race. So what we do is we're going to roll the dice, and it's going to give us the horse we care about and the amount of spaces that horse is going to roll. Horse number 8 is going to go first. How ironic, don't you think? All right, it's going to go boom, 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 boom. It's going to go 3 spaces. Now, as if that weren't sufficient, Nitro Nelly here has 2 horses that trail behind him. Horses that if he moves, well, they feel motivated to try and at least keep somewhat of a pace. Horse 2 and 4 Move one space, just one. Doesn't matter how far 8 goes, they just move one space. They're just like, nah, you're not getting that far ahead. We have needs. All right, and that is done. Now let's assume that this was a starting player, because what happens is during the round is you roll the dice, move your mice, and then each player gets to take an action based on this die. This die is the horse in question, and these are the things you can do. Now, what is this all about? Well, you've got several sections of this player placard that you can deal with. The concessions area, and you can do some cool things here. You're trying to line up rows or columns filled out. Once that happens, you can trigger any of these bonuses, and some of them are pretty powerful, and some of them are also pretty powerful. Let's actually go over the actions first and tell you. So on the concession stand, like I could mark any 8 here once. I could do that. Let's do that actually. Let's mark an 8 here because now we have possibilities for filling in our concessions. All right, that's it. That's the one action that it gets to do. Now we go over here and go, well, I got 8. So what can I do? I can helmet it. Why would I helmet it? Well, here, if I helmet it, it means that I can bet on this horse even past this line. Now that becomes important if you start to see that it's going to be a winner. If you start to see 8 pulling out to take the lead, and believe me, 8 is the horse you most want to win if you got a big bet on it, because it's got the most odds, best odds. Then this opens up the opportunity for the final stage to be able to bet on this horse. Can't bet on them once they finished, duh. But yeah, let's do that. So we helmet it. All right. Now we're going to go over here, and this is like, you know what though? I can use Jersey. Now the Jersey column says, well, I can mark that horse here. Let's do that. Mark 8. And then I can add any X on that card. Now, why would I do that? Well, because I might have other bets. For example, horse 2, I've already got a bet on, and it's already filled out. Horse 7, though, I got a bet on as well, so I'm going to fill that out. That means that whenever 8 goes, 7 goes too. That ups the odds that the horses I care about, and there can be several, are going to get as much of a boost as possible to be able to get to first, second, or third place, which nets the largest amount of points for, comparatively speaking, in order. 35 for the owner of the horse that wins, 25 for the owner of the horse in second place, 15 for the third place, but you also get multiplying odds. So for example, if horse 8 wins and you had a bet of say 3 times 9 is 27. That's a heck of a lot of points, folks. All right, we're done. So that's it. Everyone's taken an action. So now we go to player 2, and this player is going to roll 4-3. 4-3. 4-3 is a jolly good fellow. All right, so 4 is going to move 1, 2, 3. All right, but what does 4 do for you? Only one horse, only 2 goes forward here. So, but look at that. We've already got kind of our 3 starting contenders. Now we decide an action again. So let's go to the next one. You can bet up to $3 on the horse number 4. You know what? I'm going to, which means I'm going to 3 points, and this becomes 6. You just keep adding. I really want horse 4 to win because 36 points, nothing to scoff at. All right, then we go over here and we go, what to do now? Well, here's an interesting thing. You can also buy a horse. What do you do if you buy a horse? Well, you look at horse number 4. It's worth 8 points. I'm like, I'm going to buy this horse. Let's get that out of here. We don't need that. I'm going to buy this horse for $8, which leaves me 4, less for betting, but I win this horse. Now, why does it matter? Well, it's not going to... If you own it and it wins, that's a nice chunk of change. More importantly, you have a special ability that each horse has. Everyone else can still bet on the horse. Everyone else can still fill out information for it. But you, whenever you choose to bet, anytime you bet, your bet is free when placed on horses you have no bets on already. That's kind of cool. Early bird special. Why, I like it. And then we go over here and we go 4. Nothing valuable there. 4. I could bet on 4. I'm going to bet up to 3 on 4. All right. And now we're set up. Now, I'm going to do one more here. Ooh, 1 goes 2. So 1 goes 2 spaces. 1 moves horse 6, exactly 1 space. So the field of contestants is tightening. All right, so Now we go in and go, what are we going to do here? Now I could bet, um, and because of this, if I bet on this horse, I don't have one, so it's free. So I can literally bet. I'm going to bet 3 on this horse number 1. Hey, let's hope. You never know. All right, then we go over here and go, what to do? Horse number 1. You know what? Let's do this. Let's pretend that we filled this in. Ooh, I'm going to do this. I got a row. What do I get? I can move horses backwards. I can bet for free. I can do any of these. I can buy a horse however I want, or I can get $7. In this case, I'll just take the $7. So 16. We can all read that, right? All right, and finally here, now horse number 1 is not valuable to us, but we can use a wild card. 3 times a game, we can use a wild card to pretend that's a different horse. And since we like our odds with 4, we're going to go ahead and pretend that's a 4, and we're going to bet 3 more on 4. All right. So there we go. And that's it. And this is really the essence of gameplay. This is everything you're going to be doing. You're going to go around. What's going to happen? Let's move some stuff around here. Let's pretend that this horse race was just a jolly good time. Woo, look at that. And yeah, ha ha ha. So we're towards the end now. And say that we wound up with horse number 4 for 2. Well, at this point, unless you have the helmet for 4, unless you have this helmet filled out for 4, nobody can bet on the 4 horse. So, be careful. But if you do, then you can continue to bet and go, okay, I really feel like good. The odds are greater, so I'm going to pump a bunch of extra cash into betting for 4 as I can. Anyway, so let's say that horse 4 does actually win. It immediately goes here. It's in the top spot. Yay! And so it's going to net its bettors some serious points. Then let's say horse 2, let's say this one just jumps out of nowhere and says, ha ha, 8's late, and 3. All right. So once that happens and that round is over, then we are done. What does that mean? Well, it means that we count up the scores. Now the scores, or for who wins, is going to be all related to the cash. And so you're going to have, again, owner of horse 4 is going to get $35. Owner of horse 1, if any, 25, etc. And then you're going to count up and go, okay, well, horse 1 is in second place, so 3 times 4 is 12. Horse 2 is third place, so 3 times 3 is 9. If your horses get past the line, then they at least, if they get past the no betting line, then they're at least going to get your money back. So at least you get that going for you, etc. And then you're just going to count up the cash. There might be some cards that have some dividends at the end of the game that give you a little bit more cash. But yeah, that's the game in a nutshell. There's Long Shot, the dice game. So let's get into my final thoughts. All right, final thoughts on Long Shot, the dice game. All right, let's go over the cons first, then the pros, then my final thoughts. From the perspective of what I didn't like, there's a pretty paltry list, most of which are things that are nominal. If you don't like horse racing, this could still actually entertain you, but probably not as much as if you actually found the theme to be invigorating. From the perspective of table presence, there's a ton in this box. There is the track is tight, so there were like larger player counts, particularly 7 or 8. You've got a really tiny board, lots of people around it. Whatever, not a big deal, but just FYI. But that does bring up the point that 7 or 8 player games, since the turns are actually quick, but they're also still sequential, there is the issue of people taking a long time to decide what to do because of the wealth of choices presented to them each time the dice are rolled. Something to keep in mind. I think the sweet spot for me is 4 or 5. I certainly wouldn't think it's not. I certainly would say it's still a reasonably entertaining game at higher player counts. But I would say 4 or 5 was probably my favorite. 4 or 5 or 1 was my favorite. Although honestly, I don't think there's a bad player count or a player count when it just doesn't work. It works great from 1 through the maximum player count on it. So points for that. Rules wise, I think everything was pretty clear. Just, again, there's a wealth of options being described. Iconography wise, there wasn't a big deal with me as far as the placard of writing stuff down. Although I mean, there's some kind of like stretches, like hey, if you put an X on a helmet for a horse, then you can bet on that horse all the way through. Like, I don't know, whatever. But once you're through it, you get it. You're like, okay, that's just another option. They just use this icon, whatever. The trickier part is, of course, the solo mode. The solo mode is like, again, it looks like someone played Tetris with used, lotto tickets to set up this, kind of, well, that's the player card and stuff, but even the solo mode, you have this sort of matrix of decisions, which is actually great. We'll get into how much I like the solo mode later, but it does leave some ambiguity. A matter of fact, I've seen a couple of playthroughs that didn't actually have the rules right and played wrong. Beware of those. That they might like how that's played, but that doesn't match how the rule book says to play them. To its defense, this rolling the matrix, the colored matrix of decision making in the solo mode, you have a very small box for like, hey, go do this. What's the lead horse? What's the not lead horse? What are this group of horse owned horses, etc. It does bring a lot of ambiguity. As a matter of fact, I went through the entire forums on Board Game Geek to get a beat on it, and for the most part, you can will your way to kind of going, I think this is what was meant, etc. The idea that you have to do all of something that the AI does, or else if nothing works out, you just go down to the default action, can be a little bit like, yeah, you can like there's a lot of easy choices, like, hey, the AI is going to just take money, easy one. The AI is going to do move, deal with a horse, buy a horse, whatever. But when it gets into things like most or least or top or in the lead or winning, or like, it's there are some ambiguities. That said, if you're a solo player, you're generally not too casual in that. Okay, that's a generalization, but you're still you're generally probably not someone, if you're into solo mode, you're probably not someone who just shows up at taco seasoning night and wants to play a game, and it's fine because this is a perfect game for that. Oh my gosh. Oh, we're getting into the pros, but you will have some ambiguities. You can get through it in the solo mode, and you will be doing just fine. That's really all I have against it. Now let's get into the pros. In that tiny box, which I love. Again, I love boxes that are so well constructed. They snap, they crackle, they pop. There's a ton here that's interesting every single turn. Yes, I mean, for something as simple as I'm rolling 2 dice, I'm moving whatever horse that is. I've got drafting. I've got horses that move a little bit, that are motivated to move when this horse moves. The odds are changing. You're never throwing all your money. I mean, you're never so random. Yes, it's a dice game, which means there's going to be luck. That's what horse. Yes, it's luck. But you have so many ways to diverse the luck to be able to cover as much ground as you can. Or if you're feeling it, like I really feel like this horse coming around the bend, man, it's only going to take one more dice for that baby to get crossed. I'm going to mark the helmet. I'm going to throw it in. You have the luxury of being able to throw everything into that to a couple horses and hope to, win big, or, aim small, hit small. Or you have the way to go, you know what, I'm going to cover my butt here. I'm going to, you've got not only the racetrack itself, you've got the modifications for the race, for, what owning a horse and winning with that horse versus betting on some other horse, but betting big on that horse, or going like, hey, I think at least, these 3 or 4 horses, I'm going to do, spread it out so that I get some points that way, which can work. It's a viable tactic. You've got the whole concession stand thing, which is this sort of mini game that can give you the right boost at the right time. It does bring into the situation that there are some special abilities when you cross off a row or a column to be able to like pull horses back and stuff, because there is sort of a, hey, if someone's close to winning and the rest particularly in large groups, and the rest of the group is like, I don't think I want that to happen, someone along the way will try to pull you back, and that can stagnate the game. That's no lie. I didn't really mention that in the cons because it didn't run into a big issue, but I can see it becoming an issue where you're like, look, I'm just trying to get off the finish, quit rubber banding my racing game. And so that's something to consider. But all of these things are going along, and you've got all these different ways to earn points where no one's truly technically like out of it completely on almost all of the games. I love the compactness of it. I love the placards. I love the art. I think the whimsical horse stuff is great. You got these. Yeah, I love the special abilities on the horses. Again, someone really casual might be overwhelmed by going, okay, I got to remember I got my special ability, I got my betting, I got the concession stand, I got the uprating for my helmet or my shirt, yeah, the shirts and stuff. But really, I didn't find anybody having difficulty learning this game. Even people are just like, I just like checking boxes. So this is not only long shot the game, this is longevity shot the game, because this is going to be around in my collection for a long time. So let's get into my conclusions. Long shot the dice game is in a rare company of one of a very small amount of games that absolutely completely makes obsolete its predecessor as far as my games go. So for like, let's just say the other one is Bang. Bang was a card game that was, again, a large party game, whatever. When Bang the Dice came out, I went from people wanting to play it every once in a while, the original, to nobody ever wanting to play it, because every time it was brought up, people were like, let's just play the dice game. You get all the fun, you get all the frolicking, you get the shooting and the betraying and the backstabbing and the special abilities in a much smaller, tighter sequence, much smaller playtime, and everything's still there. And I have yet to bring out Bang the card game now that I have Bang the dice game. I will never be bringing out Long Shot the board game again. I don't need to. It'll be there. I love it. It served its purpose. Thank you. It's been put out to pasture. You know, glue for the win. But Long Shot the dice game is everything and more that I wanted in Long Shot in a smaller, tighter, easier to teach space. This is the second game that's really impressed the heck out of me. One was, the one I reviewed previously, the Big Thunder Mountain from Disney, was a nice surprise from Funko. But this is even more broader in that I can bring this out and play it with anybody at one. Again, it's a great solo experience. Once you've got the rules down, it's a compelling, it's a challenging game. You feel good. Every time those dice are rolled, everybody has an action to do. Everybody has something going on. Everyone's going to try to make their best guess. Yes, there's going to be groans when you're darn sure that horse number 5 is only 2 spaces away, and gosh darn it, horse number 2 ended up taking that place. So, it's just the way it is. It's delicious agony. If you lose, and just thunder's awesomeness if you win. You can play it in less than half the time of the original. You'll have a great time. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So Long Shot the dice game, a solid 8 out of 10 for me. So take care, and we'll see you next time on Harebrained Games.